Hi, Liad.
Yes,
I'm very happy that you are here and that we can talk about your points of view of Reiki and about your academical work about Reiki. And I'm very curious, and I guess the audience is too, what is it, what you do, and what are your projects? Would you like to talk a little bit about your work?
sure. Well, first of all, I'm very, very happy to be here too. This is very exciting. And I'm excited always to talk with you, Walter. And yeah, so about my projects. I've been in Reiki for close to 20 years. Reiki Master since 2001, I think, something like that. And well, I think Reiki is kind of my compass. It is the north. It is the true north in my compass. And looking back at my life, I, I see that it has led me in this path all the time.
Mhm.
And at the age of 21, 22, what we do in Israel after we finish the army is that usually we go to study something,
Ah,
go to university. And I went to study East Asian studies
okay.
and started the Japanese history and the Japanese religion and spirituality. And this has led me after the first degree. In the second degree, I decided to make a distinct focus on Japanese esoteric Buddhism and esoteric practices, and I wrote my thesis on the esoteric roots of Reiki, of the system of Reiki. I finished it in 2015, and ever since, well, I moved to Japan to write for a year to write it, and coming back in 2015, I moved to my next project, which is now my doctoral thesis, and I'm touching like the tips of these icebergs, so to say, are will also be on the subject of Reiki, and it will be on let's say on the subject of Reiki masters or Reiki mastery, um, the giants in our system, so to say, and what makes the great Reiki masters. What did they leave for us? Again, this is in a very short, in very short description. We started in the past close to a year now, an Israeli Reiki community of Reiki masters, the Reiki Master community, and at this point in time, it is roughly 200 people, all Reiki masters, and hoping to increase the vibration and to increase again the public opinion of Reiki and the amount of people taking Reiki classes and doing community work.
Wonderful. These are great ideas. So you want, if I understand you right, help Reiki masters to become, in a way, better Reiki masters, more successful Reiki masters, and so being able to distribute Reiki to more people and also in a higher quality way, right?
Yeah,
Great.
that sums it up pretty great, I think,
Mhm.
because I think that a lot of Reiki practitioners, Reiki masters who've been around for a while have seen how there's a big boom of Reiki in starting from the 1980s, but really the 1990s and the early 2000s. There was a huge Reiki.
Mhm.
Uh, um, you can call it a wave, or you can call it a very big popularity, and Reiki has become kind of a synonym to hands-on healing or energetic healing or work or path in the West today.
Mhm.
Um, Reiki teachers taught so many, and ever since starting early 2000s and until now, this trend has started to wane. It,
Mhm.
there was a degrading in the popularity of Reiki study and taking Reiki classes. And this is one of the things that I'm trying to study, trying to understand what are the causes of this trend. And this is twofold. This is one, okay, there's academic interest in this, trying to understand why things are happening in the realm of spiritual movements or spiritual practices. What are the things that make the waxing and waning of spiritual movement and spiritual practices? But the most important thing to me was that what I'm doing will have practical ramifications or practical knowledge for my people, yeah, for the Reiki people, for my brothers and sisters in Reiki. And when I think that when you understand what are the reasons, well, first of all, what are the reasons for decline, you can start to hack away at these reasons, and you can start to change from the root and up to try to change it. So one of the things that could be practical for us as Reiki masters, as a Reiki community, is to understand what are those things.
Yeah.
And the later phase is to understand what are the things that were the roots of the success. What made the great Reiki teachers so great? And can we replicate it?
Yeah.
Is the real magical formula. Can we replicate their success?
That is an extremely interesting project, I guess, because quality in Reiki is what I'm aiming at since 30 years. And I think you did also another academic work about initiations, right?
Yeah, that was for my MA. I started with initiations, and I think, by the way, they are connected.
Oh.
Those, let's say, the project of initiations and the project of trying to understand the anatomy of the Reiki master, they are connected. I think that what first drew me to study the initiations, and what first drew me to try and make the anatomy was actually a practical necessity. I was writing, yes. Don't we all learn that Reiki is, when I took my first Reiki class somewhere in 1999 or 2000, something like that, the Reiki master, my first teacher, said that Reiki is 2,000 years old. It comes from ancient places in the East, and that Usui sensei, he called him Dr. Usui at the time, found and reinvigorated this system. He reinvented, in a way, something that was very much there.
Yeah,
and
that's what I heard.
This is something that a lot of us heard, especially back in those days. The story of how Reiki was rediscovered.
Right.
And I felt like there was something to it, but this check has no cover. Yeah. We do not know where it's from. We do not know how, and when we say it's ancient, or when we say it has ancient roots, we do not actually have evidence of these roots. So side to side with with what I studied in East Asian religions and East Asian spirituality, especially in the esoteric traditions of East Asia, yeah, stemming from India to China and Japan mainly. I know that I'm reducing here. I felt that there were things that I studied, and the teachers would say, well, this is the unique fingerprint of, let's say, esoteric or tantric Buddhism and all of these things. This is very unique. And I'm sitting and I'm saying, I know this stuff. I learned it in Reiki. So, and then I start to understand that here is maybe there's a lead, there's a connection. So I started to study, and in my MA, which you're supposed to write a thesis, I decided that I'm going to write about the connection between Reiki and esoteric Buddhism.
Very interesting subject.
Indeed, and very much so. And one of these very big hallmarks of this connection, this very ancient, very deep connection between the two, is the initiation.
Mm-hmm.
So, or in a way is to say that when we perform initiations today, the Reiki initiations, we're actually reenacting very ancient tradition, very ancient initiatory tradition, very ancient practice that stems very farther back from Reiki. And I wanted to show it. I wanted to show this connection. And as probably many Reiki practitioners and Reiki teachers know, that there is a variance between initiations, not just within one tradition where there could be different initiations between levels. Even within one level could be different initiations for distinct capabilities or symbols and such, but definitely between different levels. But when we take different traditions of Reiki, and when I say traditions, I mean what Reiki Master A teaches and Reiki Master B teaches, could be stuff that seem far apart, at least in the, let's say, the protocol of the initiation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if I write something and based on initiation, say that there is a connection between esoteric Buddhism and Reiki, how can I say when I am basing on one initiations and there are so many? So I'm open to criticism. I'm open to someone saying, but my initiations are completely different. Mm-hmm. So what you're doing is very anecdotal. So practically what I had to do was to try and find some sort of key features that connect initiations so that I can say, here is a basic skeleton, here is a basic anatomy of sorts that is similar between many different initiations. So I started collecting. Well, first I studied under several teachers from several different traditions and started analyzing initiations and comparing them. And then I had very wonderful and cooperative Reiki Master colleagues who sent me manuals and Reiki initiation protocols, and we would talk about them. And I started collecting initiations from all over the world.
Wow.
Also from different points in time, because it was important for me also to take initiations that were not from a specific stem of lineage, but we needed to take, let's say Pritakata and so on. So different points in time and milestones in time and in space all over the world. And then there was like a bonk when I realized that underneath the clothes and the skin, there is an anatomy that connects all of the initiations together. So the protocol in one, you can do this, and in the other, you can do that, so to speak. But there are different manifestations of the same spiritual idea, or different techniques to achieve the same key phases or capabilities.
I see.
Yeah, and this became the framework for my MA thesis, the anatomy of initiations. And there's more to talk about it, but I'm returning back to the original question about also the anatomy of the great teachers. When I started out for my doctoral thesis,
Mm-hmm.
I was, well, at first I thought that it would be just an expansion of the same subject of initiations, but going further.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started getting interested in Reiki Masters. I started getting interested in what we spoke
Mm-hmm.
about the rise of Reiki, let's call it, and about the decline of
Mm-hmm.
popularity in Reiki, and how Reiki was influenced by many systems,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the West, yeah, and how Reiki has influenced many spiritual systems and became the basic narrative for many things today that supposedly have nothing to do with Reiki.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All of these subjects started to interest me, and I realized that one thing that connects all of them is the Reiki Master.
Yeah, right.
The Reiki Master. The Reiki Master is the piece of the puzzle now,
Mm-hmm.
which is very important. The Reiki Masters were the main responsible for the rise and the decline of the popularity of Reiki. They're the main responsibility for the receiving of outside influences and the influence of Reiki on other traditions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a fascinating subject you are doing your work on. Um, I guess that you have a very good idea why Reiki today is being needed by people. Would you like to introduce us to this idea?
Wow. I guess, well, first of all, I think maybe it's a good time to remind that this is my opinion and this is the way I see things, and I don't consider my opinion to be absolute objective truth, of course. But why I think that Reiki is so needed today, I think that actually now, people talk about the past of how there was this big opportunity in Reiki, especially in the 90s. I think now is the greatest opportunity of all in Reiki, because now the world has reached the critical mass
Mm-hmm.
of the. So let's look at the classic, for example, the Maslow pyramid of needs, from the basic survivability to food and shelter and to all of these things. Now, for the first time in history, there are huge amounts of mankind, billions of people, who are not in everyday true struggle for survival.
Right.
Yes, they want more money, but they're not hungry for food or shelter and the basics. So right now, people are hunting for meaning. We
Yeah.
are, for the first time, there are billions of people, especially we're talking about the OECD countries, yeah? Well, most of, we're talking um, about over 2 billion people who are not about their survival.
Mm-hmm.
They are now at the point of what is my meaning?
Right.
What do I want from my life? What do I want to do with myself? And the old stories too are crushing down. So there is no true new story to take us forward. And right now, to fill this, it's a gap. It's a gap. It comes from a good place. Yeah, it comes from a good place, but it's still a gap, a spiritual, community, social gap. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, there is nothing real yet to fill this gap for the masses, for many people. Um, so they fill it up with time-consuming things like social media and silly apps and all sorts of things, and that do not really give them what they need. So they try to get more. Um, I I recommend reading a wonderful history professor called Ehud Harari,
Mm-hmm.
who wrote several very nice books from, I think, The Brief History of Mankind is one of them, and another one is called The History of Tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And in it, he speaks about how in a century we have pretty much taken off of the table the three main things on the agenda of mankind for most of history. For most of history, the things that, you know, if you look at all the canonical writings of religions and through the writings of history, the things that, you know, that were the main problems of humans throughout the ages, throughout most of human history, are hunger, plague, and war or violence. So this is what killed most people. Yeah, it was either lack of food, infectious disease, or by someone else's sword.
Mm-hmm.
And within a century, mankind wakes up, and it's not like there are not still millions of people suffering from these things. I'm not saying, he's not saying that it's not happening, but nonetheless, there are more people dying from obesity and too much food than people dying from hunger and lack of food. There are more people dying from the disease of old age than from any infectious disease. And I'm saying this even this day in the days of COVID-19 still. And there are more people dying by killing themselves than by being killed by another man. So in one sense, it was a big switch.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is, what will be the new things on the agenda? There is no vacuum. What will be the new things that will replace? And Harari speaks. He mentions three that are very interesting thing to think about. One is the pursuit of immortality or a longer and longer life. The second is the pursuit of bliss and happiness, especially since we are living longer and longer and in relative welfare. So we want our lives to be better and better. We want to be in happiness and in bliss. And the third is the pursuit of godlike powers, especially of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these things are now kind of being put on the table of science, table of technology. Now, I place Reiki on the second pursuit, and that is the pursuit of bliss and happiness, because Reiki is a path to happiness and bliss and good fortune. The first words of one of the only things that we have from Usui Sensei's own words in the what is known as like the scroll of the 5 precepts is the best or the secret formula to invite bliss and happiness. Okay, it is Shofuku no Hiho. It's it is a formula. Hiho could be best, the best method, or the very good one, a very very successful one. And it could be a secret or esoteric method to invite happiness. So here we have a very simple system, very simple, that anyone and everyone can do in our daily lives, right here, right now. It's not meant for monks in a monastery, like many spiritual traditions and spiritual practices are based on monastic traditions and monastic practices.
Yeah.
They are meant for monks.
Yeah.
I'm not discounting these. Some of these are excellent, of course, excellent. But Reiki is meant for the everyday person.
That's what we need.
It is a tool for the everyday person to invite happiness and bliss and to fill the hole that is the gap, the main ailment of the 21st century, the lack of meaning, the lack of spiritual fulfillment, of spiritual, um, I think fulfillment is the way to say it.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So you consider Reiki being a great medicine, so to say, a spiritual medicine for today's people who are in search for a meaning.
Yeah, and and that is why, saying that Reiki has reached its peak
Mhm.
is, I think Reiki is not even close to its peak, because we assume uh, uh, we can kind of uh, uh, make a calculation that there should be something between 10 to 15 million Reiki practitioners, something like that. It needs to be times 10 than that.
So,
It needs to be 100 million. It needs to be 150 million. That's the amount of people who actually need it, actually more. And that's what I'm saying. Now is the true time for Reiki. This needs to be the age of Reiki.
so you're talking about a Reiki Renaissance.
Yes. Oh
Wow.
wow, that's a great way to say it. Indeed.
Yeah, wow. That is something I like. I agree totally that Reiki can do so much for today's people with all the stress and all the frustration, all the insecurity. Reiki can be a safe haven to create inner freedom and inner peace. Um, is there anything you could recommend to people when when they want to get an idea of what you think today's spirituality has to give to them? Not necessarily Reiki books, but any spiritual literature, psychological, philosophical books which you think that would be a good read for someone who says, well, I want to fill that void within me. I want to go for a meaning. What would your recommendation be?
Oh wow. The there there are so many actually. Um, I would say first and foremost, even before any list of great books, is to actually work on one's ability to learn and one's ability to grow, one's ability to read.
Mhm.
Um, I recommend reading one book every week. It's
Great.
not it's not such a hard task actually, especially if you set time. Something if you I think some people took took the average of all the books from Amazon. They took like some metadata and they figured out what is the amount of words, the average or the mean of the amount of words in all the books from Amazon to get put together, and the average amount of words a person, the average word person can read, and they came to the conclusion that in something like 30 minutes a day, you will finish the average book within a week. So actually, that's yes, between 30 to 45 minutes, I think, something like that. It's really, and that actually doesn't seem so bad.
Mhm.
When you take that into consideration. And something like a year ago, I started just doing it,
Great.
and I've been reading something from between 1 to 2 books a week,
Wow.
and it's all of a sudden becomes this. All those books that I've ever wanted to read, from fiction to classics to important works in philosophy and spirituality to um, things that are very relevant for research or for work. So my if there's any, I think my advice would be to actually make a list
Mhm.
of books that you want to read,
Mhm.
and then schedule like 30 minutes a day and just start reading them. Just take the
Thank you.
first one
Great
and then
advice here.
yeah.
Thank you.
And so besides that, there are so many. I cannot I'm afraid I will do a disservice to so many others if I mention one or two that are. I'll think about it.
Okay, great advice, Leah. Thank you. Is in your Reiki history, you said you were doing close to 20 years of Reiki now. You must have had several wow moments where you have had an experience with yourself when being treated or when you were treating others. Would you like to share some of these wow moments of Reiki with us?
Well, yeah. I mean, my first wow moments were when I started 20 years ago. I remember completely the layout of the place where I took my first Reiki 1 class. I remember where the room and the size and the people sitting, and I remember some of
Photographic
the
memory.
people there. What?
Photographic memory.
Perhaps, but it made a big impression on me, was
Yeah,
taking Reiki even for the
yeah.
first time. And ever since, I think that Reiki has a remarkable capability to wow us even after so long.
Mhm.
Even after so long, during daily Reiki practice, and I practice Reiki every day, treatment, precepts, meditation, which I practice every day, and also initiations at least once a month. And it is amazing, even after 20 years of practicing, especially with lay on hands part of Reiki practice, which has been the longest that I've been doing in a row, it can still surprise. After all these years, there could still be this moment of great connection or a great embodiment of Reiki.
So
Um,
I guess that you would not share the opinion like I have heard that you do Reiki one weekend, Reiki 2 the next, then you become Reiki Master, and then you go on studying Tarot and shamanism.
exactly. When you do it, when you do that on the first day and then that on the second, and that's it, you will probably move on to something else.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Because in this way, most people probably do not get enough to understand what they have in their hands. What is
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
what is the huge potential, huge Reiki? I mean, I'm not even talking about the fact that you have the perfect mobile application. You
Mhm.
don't even need to have your phone with you. You have it in your hands. It's the perfect app, the perfect mobile app. It's always with you. Um, Not even that, but the profundity. I mean, Reiki is absolutely amazing, and this is one of the things that wows me the most in Reiki. So simple. I mean, come on, it's so simple. It almost seems from the outside, it seems like a joke. I mean, I remember taking my first Reiki class, and this guy tells me that he's going to do some hocus pocus on me, and I will be connected to the spirit of the universe from now until forever, and all I need to do was slap on my hand somewhere, and that's it. Healing just starts flowing, and not just that, from now till the end of my life, this thing is there. Come on, are you kidding me? It sounds like baloney. And then when you start doing it, you're like, shit, this is for real. And
Yeah.
so from the outside, for the mind, I would say for a reason, it seems unreasonable that something so simple or so sometimes so reductionist in a way could be so profound. But that's why it is a practical. Reiki is a practical system. If you don't practice it, you will never scratch the surface of its profundity. But once you do, once you step through this gate, you do realize that these simple practices are the gateway to the most profound of systems.
Yeah,
This,
I agree.
these are the roots of Reiki. This is the geniusness of the Reiki system. This
Mhm.
simple everyday thing that every person can do is a gateway to the most secret, esoteric, profound practice of the masters who spent their years and years and years perfecting their
Mhm.
systems. And here you have this entryway
Mhm.
into this rabbit hole
Mhm.
into their profound truths. This is Reiki. This is the wow.
And you don't have to be for several years in a cave in the Himalayas.
No, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go on a 21-day fast on Mount Kurama to risk your life. And you don't have no, you don't have to become a monk. You just need to practice Reiki like you were taught every day and invite the bliss and fill this, fill your life with this wonderful thing and let it guide you and let it mix into your foundations. And this is something that any Reiki person listening to this or somehow or watching this knows, especially after years of being with Reiki and looking at it from the height of time.
Mhm.
Reiki becomes mixed into your foundations.
Mhm.
It leads you in beautiful ways. You know, every person I speak to who is into Reiki, and they've studied so many things, so many of them say, well, Reiki is what started it all. Reiki is what ignited me or ignites me on this journey. And it's always, it becomes part of your spiritual DNA,
Wow,
always.
that touches me. Your dedication to Reiki, it is so radiant. Thank you, thank you.
It's what Reiki does to you.
So, could you identify some essential motivation why you wanted to become Reiki Master?
Whew. Um, well, I I think that there are many different motivations to become Reiki Master. I mean, I was 17 when I studied Reiki Master.
Hmm.
I was really young,
Hmm.
and it was, you know, I started with Reiki 1 and I was immediately wowed by how great it was for me, and it made a huge impact in my life. And I was already into, you know, practicing all sorts of spirituality, and and recognized this beautiful thing. And so, in a way, I would say also that there was this hunger to know it all.
I
Okay,
see.
it's okay. I can say it.
Mhm.
It's not the best of. It's not the best of reasons that you know that you want to. That you want to know all about the system, that you, okay, so Reiki 1, ooh, wow, I want to know Reiki 2. Okay, Reiki 2, wow, what's the next? Reiki Master, make me a Reiki Master. How much is it? I'll go in the streets working as selling sandwiches to make the money all through the summer vacation and study Reiki Master. Okay? And I'll tell you why I choose to be a Reiki Master, why I choose this journey of mastery all the time right now. Because, you know, if someone came to me, by the way, when I'm asked at times from people who want to study Reiki Master to study Reiki Master with me, and one of the things that I ask is what are your reasons that you want to become Reiki Master? And if someone were to tell me, you know, I want to learn it all, or I want to learn all the levels because it is, you know, what is the next thing? I don't know if it's a good enough reason to be a teacher, because to be a teacher, you need to be in love with the system. You need to
Right.
be to love it. You need to practice it. How can you teach something that you don't really practice on yourself?
Sure.
Uh, that you don't, that you haven't had a journey with yourself. And that is the case with many Reiki teachers, by the way, many Reiki
Yeah, unfortunately.
masters. Mastery is a journey, and it is a continuing journey, and it is mastery. much weight to this word. It's not something you can learn in a weekend or in a series of meetings. It is something that you earn, that you by practicing and by taking a journey. So the reason I choose to be a Reiki master is, is my love for Reiki, my dedication, my absolute belief, 100% unequivocal, that this is great, that this system is beautiful and profound, and it really is an answer, a cure for all these ailments that we spoke about, for that this is 100% pure and good, and having practiced it so much on myself that I want other people to have this. This is not going to say like this is the only way, but this is a reason. This is this love of Reiki and love for other people, by the way.
Yeah.
This love for service. I understand how much it can do for people, and it is the only kind of the only way, in a way, to want to pay it forward.
So it's about compassion.
Yes.
It's one yin thing.
I'd say Canon. Well, Canon is she's my guardian deity. She's thousand-handed.
Yeah. I've seen her in Kyoto. Wow. Yeah, I understand that. Is there something you would recommend to a serious Reiki practitioner not to do?
Yes, certainly. I would definitely recommend, have something to recommend not to do, especially because I did it.
I see. You have been there, burned the shirt. I see.
Yes, exactly. I have the burnt shirt. Yeah. So when I look back at those years, and I learned Reiki as something that was very traditional, something that was very similar or precise, coming down the lineage. I was told by my teacher, look, I taught you everything exactly like I was taught, by a person who taught me exactly like he was taught, and so on and so forth, until the patriarch, until the starter of the system. So what you have is the absolute original.
I heard this.
Great. I'm so happy. And then early 2000s, there was this time of a Reiki organization in my country, and they started making meetings of many Reiki masters. One of the reasons was in the hopes that through these meetings they will be able to create some sort of baseline for Reiki teaching, for legislation, for being recognized by the medical institutions, for insurance, and so on. So many teachers, many Reiki masters attended, and one of the things that were apparent that there are differences. Okay, one of these things, they started to create a sense, and that sense started to grow, of doubt, a question mark.
Yeah.
This question mark was, why was I taught that I had the original system, or an original system, or authentic, and all of these teachers are now meeting and going at each other for their original system, for what they consider as the original system. So first of all, I'm not sure if mine is actually the original. What if this guy's is actually the real one, or that one?
Clash
the
of
first.
traditions.
And then also there started coming all sorts of stories from Japan of how the Japanese, they do it so different than us. We are not doing the original Reiki. The original Reiki is over there, and so on. And all these things that made me doubt. There are rumors about the symbols. Not everyone has the symbols. Not everyone does this, or he taught the symbols to the people who were so spirituality. All of these things, and for years I was lost because of these things. For years, all the way until I had to go to Japan and live there for a year and become member of the Usui Reiki Ryoho Gakkai, to understand that the similarities far outweigh the differences. We are all doing the original system. We are all doing the authentic system. So two things here are things that need to be, that I would warn anyone against. First, never use these words authentic and real and the only way, and all these things that belong to dogma, they belong in the past. That's the one thing. Okay? It is also, by the way, we started our conversation with how, with the reasons for decline.
Yeah.
Dogma is one of these reasons.
Yeah.
Dogmatism and the quibbling between different factions, creation of faction, creation and lineages going against each other and saying, I have the true Reiki, no, I have the true Reiki. Come on. We, once you're there, there is no such thing as the real Reiki. We are all practicing facets of this beautiful diamond.
Wow.
And the second is this question of what is the original, or what is the, or did they do this or do that? Again, it's a part of this whole thing. Reiki is a beautiful diamond. The diamond has facets, and the facets of the diamond are what gives the diamond its fire, its sparkle. And all of the traditions and all of the Reiki masters, all of the practitioners, all of the practices, they're all beautiful facets of this diamond, and they are what gives it its beautiful light, its beautiful fire of Reiki.
A great metaphor. Is something you have identified about what makes the probability high that a facet belongs to that diamond?
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah. For example, there are many systems of energy work around which have the term Reiki within its title. And they might be wonderful ways of healing and spirituality. Most of them I just don't know. But if someone tells me, well, that is Reiki, like Usui did it, and what they do is microcosmic orbit, and they use Norwegian runes, and they use poems from Finland, and they tell you that is what Usui really meant. So maybe, but could you find out, is there anything where you could say, well, there is a border, and this belongs in a way or another to the heritage of Usui, but this I would be in doubt.
Okay, so thank you. I think that, well, since Reiki influenced many systems in the West, and there are many things, well, first of all, there are many systems that have the word Reiki inside them that are not part of the system. They're not stemming from the system that Usui Mikao started in the 1920s in Japan. I would say that although, the word Reiki was not invented by Usui Sensei, it was there for quite a long time, actually. It was not invented by him. He was not the only system of Reiki either. That is why his system is called Usui Reiki Ryoho.
Ah, okay.
Why was it not called just Reiki Ryoho or Reiki, or at least Reiki Ryoho? because it was Usui's system of Reiki, because there were others' systems of Reiki.
Wow.
Nonetheless, it's okay, but nonetheless, I think that it's important to say, or at least in my understanding, in the West today, or in the world today, when we say Reiki, it is actually an abbreviation of Usui Reiki Ryo.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was the system brought to the West, brought by Takata Hawayo. It was the system brought by Takata Hawayo, which immigrated Reiki, the word Reiki, the notion of Reiki, the system of levels with initiations to connect and to rise between them. All of these things, these are things, this system of Reiki is what was brought by Hawayo Takata to the West. This is what has generated the notion of Reiki in the West.
I see.
Okay, so when people say Reiki, they're actually saying Usui Reiki. I'm not saying that we are, we have, we are the sole proprietors of this notion, but this is actuality. This is what brought Reiki to the West. Now, other systems took this name out of, especially in the heyday of popularity. Reiki became so popular that the term Reiki became like synonymous with energy work and with connecting with a consciousness of the universe and so on. So they started using the word Reiki. So now we have this situation where the word Reiki in the West comes from Usui Reiki, but there are systems who use it which are not Usui Reiki. As far as I'm concerned, or the way I see things, Reiki, as the system of Reiki, the system of Reiki stems from Usui. I do not judge any other system, any other spirituality, none whatsoever, as long as it doesn't hurt its practitioners and the people around them, of course. Vice versa. Okay, there are over 6,000 medical researches showing myriad of spiritual practices from yoga to Chinese medicine to meditations from all over the world, from South America to Kabbalah, to all of these things that show various wonderful effects on the body, on the life of a person. This can be seen in saliva and blood even after minutes of practice. This can be seen even in MRI after as low as 2 months of practicing many meditations, many types of yoga and things. After 2 months, your corpus callosum will be bigger. That's the part that connects the two lobes. Amygdala shrinks. That's the part mainly producing the fear-inducing or stress-inducing cortisol. It will shrink, and we can see it in MRI. So the Reiki does not have superiority or any way to say, well, Reiki is better. The only thing that I think that Reiki has this great thing about it is its simplicity. As I mentioned earlier, about how many systems were created by very religious, monastic practices and backgrounds. They are meant for people who basically live their entire lives and do only this. And Reiki is meant for the people. It's by the people, for the people. It's for the working man or woman or child. So this is the true. You said what about this part of the diamond, or this is so great. I would say it's simplicity. It's democracy. It's how every person in today's setting can practice it profoundly and efficiently in the way it was supposed to be practiced and get results.
Wonderful. Thank you, Liad. That is much food for thought. So thank you for this interview. And I'm looking much forward to hear and read more from you. And I think you will be a frequent guest on my Facebook site, because I would love to learn more from you and to see what the outcome of your research will be, which you have in progress right now.
I well, first of all, thank you very much. I'm deeply, deeply, deeply grateful for this. This was wonderful. I can now go back to the fake beach behind me. I'm kidding. Um, this has been a wonderful opportunity, and I'm very, very grateful, very thankful. Thankful to you, and thankful for anyone who's listening or watching this. And I urge you to learn more Reiki and to practice more Reiki and to enjoy this wonderful, wonderful thing in the smallest of things, in practice of the precepts every day, and in practice of meditation uh, and daily lay on hands, and also taking initiations once in a while, and go learn more Reiki from more teachers and more sources, and discover more of this amazing puzzle. Thank you so much, Walter. This was beautiful. Thank you for your questions and for your all your presents and gifts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liad.